Hello and welcome to episode 423 of the Mark and Me podcast. As always, I'm your host Mark. Now joining me on today's episode is Stu Folsom, the vocalist and songwriter and brains behind the incredible band SpiritWorld. As you're listening to this podcast right now, I think probably the best named album in musical history has just come out from this band. It's called Eldorado. Go and look at this album, the imagery, the artwork, and then listen to it because it's absolutely unreal. It's got this thrash and death metal that I didn't know if it would work with this kind of Western theme, but it's absolutely awesome. And I swear you're going to absolutely love it and then start listening to it all the time and be obsessed because that's what's happened to me. And I can't wait to share the interview with you in just a couple of minutes' time. But on Mark and Me, I always like to use the intro to talk about my last episode, and my god, this blew up. I had the return of Rao Reynolds from the amazing Enter Shikari. This blew up. Thanks so much to the band and Rao for sharing this on their socials. The numbers were insane. As we're speaking right now, Rao is on tour with War of the Worlds, so it's absolutely amazing. I can't wait to go and see the show and his performance, which is only going to be a couple of weeks away when I go in Birmingham. But today's episode is all about the amazing SpiritWorld, and I want you all to get involved with this band. So here's me and Stu from SpiritWorld talking all things music. So Stu, thanks for joining me today on the Mark and Me podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
It's an absolute pleasure. Now, Stu, what I do with all guests that come on the podcast, I love to go on a small trip down memory lane, and I like to go right back to the very beginning because there's always that crucial album or gig that made you fall in love with music. And I want to know, when you were growing up, maybe it was with pocket money or someone passed it to you in the family or a friend, but that first album that you remember listening to, maybe on cassette or CD, that you just fell in love with instantly?
Well, passing the money makes me think. I clearly remember the first time that, like, I have a twin brother, and
okay.
we went to a record store, and I remember the first time I got to buy anything because I had older brothers, and so I always had music around, but it was probably like maybe third or fourth grade, and it was definitely cassette tapes at the time, and I remember I came out with Master of Puppets, and Guns N' Roses had a single out, so I had like a Metallica and a Guns N' Roses tape were the two things. So that sticks out to me, not at the time, but looking back with how I've done things in my life and like all these weird, like seeds that were planted a long time ago. It makes me wonder. I'm like, I don't know, because out of all the things, it wasn't like I just was listening to metal back then. Like, I loved a lot of stuff, but for whatever reason, like the imagery of the album cover and like, I don't really remember. Like, I must have liked Metallica way back then, you know what I mean? But I don't know what it is that made me I could have picked anything in the world, and it was like Master of Puppets. And I mean, here I am, however many fucking million. Right? Like, you could basically say we're just ripping off that cassette tape I bought. You know what I mean?
What about live music then? So Green Day was my first introduction on their Dookie tour to seeing live music. I'm very grateful I got to experience such a great band at the kind of the height of their career for me, and it made me want to be in a band. Do you have a similar great first gig, or is it an embarrassing one you don't tell people? Or
No, so the first show I ever went to, I was a little kid, but my mom took us all to go see Loretta Lynn at one of the hotels in Vegas. And so I love Loretta Lynn, and we were like, I guess, front row. I don't have a memory of this, but as my mom tells me this, the fact, like when I grew up, when she's like, yeah, I took all 6 of my kids, and she had 6 boys, and drug us all down to go see Loretta Lynn because that was her shit. And I was thinking, like, if I was like, whatever, 40 years old, Like I would not be taking 6 kids to fucking do
No.
anything. Oh, props to mom. So like but that wasn't like an impactful thing for me, more like a funny anecdote later when I realized how cool that was. But I moved out of Las Vegas and I lived in Idaho for like junior high going into high school. And so there wasn't really a lot of like big shows you could go to. But once I found like the punk rock scene, like we were going to shows, it was the little shows, I guess, is what I'm trying to say, that had a profound impact on me. There was this dude named Bramer who was doing basement shows at the 1555 Punk House in Pocatello, Idaho. So it would be like very small regional touring bands were like playing in this basement. And I remember being like, probably like maybe 15 ish, give or take 14, something like that. And like, you'd go see these bands and like there was no real internet or anything at the time. So like you would have no clue who the fuck the bands were, but it was like this special organism that was alive. And like you'd go and like it was the same. Like back then we thought a show was popping if there was like 40 people, packed. And when I say basement, I mean like a very small room in a basement, like a bedroom. So I mean like 40 people in there, like skanking and circle pitting was like those were really profound shows for me. And then somehow like I had friends that in high school that were like musically inclined playing in a punk band. And so they were covering like Op Ivy and Face to Face and like that shit to me was like mind blowing because I like music was not a thing that was tangible to me that like you could make yourself. And so then I was kind of just I was a year older, but like a hanger on kid, like going to these shows of this band Dismay Parade. Shout out my dude Nate Mooter, Nick Wiggins. And then so my contribution to that was like falling in love with that community first of like you don't really feel a part of anything else, but here's this thing that like only a few people with really at the time what I considered to be like really cool taste and like kind of weird out there music hang out and do these crazy things. So I started booking shows like so it all went really quick. It was like next thing you know, I'm booking like fucking insane shows and there's like 400 people at a club and I have no idea what a door split is or any of the business. And so like I'm throwing shows and like it's just insanity. And then, you know, yeah.
Where's the switch then? When is it from you going to the guy organizing a show to then wanting to be the guy who's at the show who's actually performing?
I don't feel like there was like a flashpoint moment where I thought of it. It was more like I was going to like ravenously just going to shows like
Yeah.
punk shows, rockabilly shows, hardcore shows, metal shows, and just so I just love music, as a fan. And then at some point through like booking shows, and then I got really involved in the hardcore punk scene because in Las Vegas, I had moved back down here. There was no place where you could do all ages shows. Every time you did a show, it would get shut down at a venue. And so we had a big, um, basically like a squat house on a junkyard. And so I started booking shows there. And at some point, I think it was just all of my friends and my brothers that I was hanging out with. We just started playing in a band, um, in a hardcore band called Folsom, but it wasn't like anybody in that band set out that was like really musically talented. It was more of your natural punk thing where it's like, well, we know we're not like musicians, but we're really good friends and we're fucking really live and breathe this hardcore stuff. So like we make racket. And so then that band, like through the course of that, it started from me singing because I had no ability to play guitar or anything to then picking up instruments in the practice room. And really at some point, I don't know where or how, but I feel like something happened where even to this day, if I go to like a big festival or I go to a show, there's a part of me that if I'm in the audience, I just kind of long to be on the other side of the barricade. And I feel like maybe that's where like something inside says maybe you should be over there. on the creative side. And I don't know when that happened because I still love going to shows, but that does happen quite a bit where I'm like, I'll go to something and like I'll get the itch. Not that I don't belong or that I don't feel comfortable. It's just like I really want to be playing or I want to be like expressing myself more so than, just standing, bobbing your head, you know?
That's fair. And I suppose, does it take away any expectations when you weren't setting out to conquer the world? You know, you were just with your friends playing music, you decided to have a go at singing, you then just started to play instruments. I suppose you weren't trying to become the next Beatles or the biggest hardcore band like Refused ever. You were just kind of enjoying having fun, hanging out with mates without any expectations.
Yeah, no, our goal was to be able to just one bring the bands that were like popping that we liked who never play Vegas to book them and then playing with them was cool. And then all of a sudden like the band took off where like our shows were better than any band that would tour. So
How
it's
cool
like
is that though?
yeah, and so then it goes then you do that and then we were touring and Folsom did a bunch of US tours and went to Europe a few times and really got to the point where after probably 6 or 8 years where we had an offer to like go tour with Blood for Blood. Like we had things going, and that's when everybody's life in their mid 20s was like we'd spent a lot of time not getting paid playing like dirt poor shows, just doing it strictly out of passion. And then it was like, well, I'm not gonna beat a dead horse. Like, and so for me, like I never had that overachieved any goal that I ever started with. You know what I mean? I just wanted to book and like make sure Integrity would play Las Vegas if they toured. You know what I mean? And so like to be a part of a band that got to see some of that, that's what really I guess kind of laid in my head the thing that like it's really important to also make art and maybe you should try and do this seriously at some point. But I also really hated the idea of feeling like you're sacrificing your stability, your personal relationships. And after being in a scene for so long, you realize that like the turnover, these people that are so fucking strong, opinionated, and it should be really pushing each other forward. There's a lot of like pulling it apart by the people that are the most invested in like a little pocket of a community. And so once you kind of go through that ringer too, you're like, well, there's a group of like family and loved ones and folks that I've met through this that are going to love me until I'm in the grave. And so, like, prioritize that. How do I have a stable life where I can then provide, have a home, like all these things. I never thought music could be a vehicle for that from being playing the worst shows you could ever play and, living that kind of like grassroots, um, punk rock life, playing squats and VFW halls. And you know what I mean? Like that never seemed realistic to me. Even now, like with Spirit World, I mean, on paper, people look at this and think we're like set to be like this big, like next wave of a big metal rock band, whatever. But for me, like everybody involved, we're all like working class dudes that built our lives. And then we can do this and tour on the side because we kind of carved out a space in our careers and our things to allow for the insane travel and the requirements of playing music. So I don't feel like even now I don't feel like it's a I don't feel like a musician per se, and I don't feel like a working like traveling musician. Like I so I think for me it's like a still very much so a like a hobby passion project, even though the time spent doing it nowadays is it's like I have two full-time careers.
So have you seen the growth? Obviously, people are throwing your name out there alongside bands like we've seen that have blown up, like off the top of my head, Sleep Token, Spirit Box, these bands that have gone and just become huge. And with your name in the mix of people talking about you blowing up and being this next big thing, have you been able to ever take a step back over the last kind of 3 or 4 years and see the growth, or is it too personal? Are you too invested internally to kind of be able to take a step back and reflect? Or is it one big whirlwind at the moment where you're like, fuck, this is crazy?
I mean, yes and no, because I run every detail of the band, right? So it's like I know everything.
Yeah,
Like I have our merch store, I see every order that comes in, and so like I see the growth record to record. And to me, like when people throw our name out, like I know that like if you turn on liquid metal, like our new stuff is up there with like the biggest metal bands, and it's like I mean, the big dogs. And to me, that doesn't feel real, you know? Like, I know that, like, shout out to Jose Mangan, and I'm glad he loves my band. But I just feel like these bands are so much bigger, and like a sleep token or a spirit box, like, to me, that's a one of one genie in the bottle blowing
yeah.
up there. Like, how many bands do that? Like, one out of a million. So to me, like, I'm happy to get any recognition, but I don't feel like, I really aspire to just be consistent and like until it no longer feels good for like my head and my heart, like I just want to be prolific and make art. And then if it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, great. But I don't feel any pressure, feel like I just feel the same. You know, I get up and I have a pretty small circle. So I guess it helps that I'm just pretty grounded. Like it doesn't those kind of things I don't really I guess I don't really notice or feel any different. So, I mean, I pay my band and shit, and like this next tour we're gonna do, I feel like this is like a turning point, like budgeting wise, where I'm like, it's all laid out. Like we should all get paid. Like I'll be taking a paycheck for the first time. So like those things feel like almost a monumental like step. You know what I mean? But at the same time, to replace like five grown ass men who work in construction like we do and really have busted our asses, it's like we better sell a shitload of fucking shitloads of cotton on tour to even come close to replacing what we have built in our personal lives. You know what I mean? So to me, I'm like, we're so far from that. It's like we might as well be the punk band playing on the floor still. You know what I mean?
That's quite unique though, because most bands I talk to, it's all the band and that's it, and they're having to put their heart, soul, sleep on people's couches, lose money at every show, hope to sell t-shirts to break even. You've kind of got
Yeah.
your foundations in place. It's like a nice to have side project alongside your life. There's not many people. I've done this for 9 years,
I
I think. You know, you're probably the first.
I hated that lifestyle. Like
Yeah,
I don't want to be at the mercy of any compromise in my life like that. So when that's your only income, like I compromise at my day job. Like I have a corporate job and there are a list of structured rules and all this shit that I put up with. And that's like all I can do to function with that in a box. It's like severance. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
my my Annie is in there in this corporate world and I do that and I've sold out. So I guess I've lost all punk points because I've like built my life with this. But over here, this beautiful, weird, strange thing, there is no compromise. I do it exactly how I think it should be done. And like my goals are mine. Like there is no trappings of, you know, like I had friends, super political, like punk bands, and you get that kind of cancerous thing where the hive mind of this is what's important. And then if you stray, like your band could be just eaten alive by people that never spent any time actually putting love into it. And so I've just tried to create Spirit World as my own escape from all of that with zero fucking I mean, I do collaborate with people in the music industry, but there's nobody pulling the strings. It's all feels good. All feels right. And if it doesn't, I just pass on offers and you know what I mean?
How healthy is that though? It's so nice because all I ever hear is toxic stories about people now asking to be paying to be a support band. The music industry is pretty fucked up at the moment. It's not a nice way to be. If you're in a band starting out, God knows how you'd even go about doing it because it's all about knowing someone, being in the right place, having the friends that will take you and give you that push. It's about numbers. It's about amount of followers, Twitter followers, Instagram likes. The
I
music doesn't
challenge
do the
that
talking.
though, because I mean, I spent a lot of time in like small rooms and like I really learned a lot about just like bands. But the thing that I never did, I never connected with anybody, any tastemaker, anybody that's gonna say like, "Oh, Stu's my boy. I'm gonna put out his record." Like anybody listening to this, I know the music industry sounds fucking insane, and it is, but I got my band where I am by sitting and making records that actually people want to listen to for whatever reason. It's connecting. And so like Pagan Rhythms came out and it brought like booking agents, it brought interest. I didn't go out. I've never got on my knees for anybody. And like that record, there's not a commercial thing about it really. You know what I mean? It definitely sounds like it belongs in a like a death metal, thrash metal thing, but it's not. I don't know. I just think I'm a romantic, so I say go make a record that you feel in your heart is like important to you, and it will find its way, and you can make like the path will open from that. Like all the crazy like bullshit, it's there, but write more songs because if you can't get a door to open, I mean, look inside. Maybe you need to maybe you need to find your voice. You know what I mean? Because if you do, I think that things happen and pieces to the puzzle kind of fall into place. And if you're being genuine to yourself, I think I can't explain it, but I know that it can happen because I just did it like 4 years ago. I never would have believed any of the shit that SpiritWorld's doing, you know?
I love all the artwork and everything. It's obviously a lot of thought and time's gone into it, and especially with Deaf Western, that cover looks like when I used to go and rent like VHSs in the 80s and 90s on a Friday night, and you'd see these crazy films that were just bonkers. And it's great to see, like, it's iconic. I look at these album covers and instantly I'm like, that looks fucking awesome. Like, you can tell your heart and soul's in it.
Yeah, like it's funny you say that about the VHS because that's one of the things I talked about with the artist James Bousuma from Las Vegas is like I grew up loving the comic book shop and the video store. So it's like I rented so many fucking videos because of the rad cover art. And then you watch the biggest piece of shit because what's inside. Like when I went through my barbarians and sorcerers phase, I watched every motherfucking movie that had a cool cover. And out of those, we're talking a success rate of enjoying the film like 1 out of 15. You know what I mean? So like to me, going to record stores and seeing heavy metal bands, especially where the artwork is just like, this looks fucking insane. This looks brutal. Can't wait. Like, I don't know, like before you could listen to music and hear everything a band's ever done at the click of a button as soon as you hear their name, I came into it when you would see the album art and you were just like, whoa, these guys have to be cool. No way a fucking lame could like have this album artwork, you know? So I kind of try to push that forward too. I hope people see our stuff and are like, what the fuck is this? I need to like check this out, you know?
Hey, it works because as soon as you go on something like Spotify or one of the streaming sites, it stands out. Like, it isn't just the bland, straightforward band on a cover looking cool. Like I said, it
Yeah.
took me straight back to the video shot. Even the name, Deaf Western, I'm like, that should be a film, you know?
Yeah, right. Yeah, all that is all things when I say like to somebody coming up that doesn't know anybody in the industry, what you do know is what you think is cool. And to me, like I know what cover art speaks to me and song titles and album titles, and these things need to grab. And so if you put it together where each piece of that is enough to grab your attention, like pretty soon you're in a there's not very many people that can take the time to really fucking do the details. You know what I mean? Not in this day and age.
No, and it's so important. And how does it feel as we're recording right now? Your album is literally days away. Do you have that feeling of, I don't know you personally, but are you nervous? I know your expectations aren't there. You don't have to worry about it being a huge success, but surely even when I release an interview, I'm always the night before I hit that publish button, I'm thinking, oh, like I hope people love it. I don't want to read bad comments. I want people to, we're all
Yeah.
guilty of it. We have that anxiety and that insecurities, and with an album like this, surely you're sitting there thinking, a few days time, everyone's going to get to hear these songs. You've probably
Yeah,
sat on them for a while. A lot of people sit, they've been mastered, ready for the
yeah,
world to listen to.
it's more excitement of like the feedback loop is something I stay away from. I've been very lucky with Spirit World that like most reviews and things and even comments, we just don't get ripped a new one as bad as a lot of people. And so it hasn't been that bad. But even that, like I'm very sensitive to stuff like that. So I just stay in my vacuum. Like I have my peer group that I send these records to when they're done. And this was basically done like a year ago. And so I'm kind of done with the album, you know what I mean? Like it has no more effect on me. So I'm excited to get it out so that I can start the next like chapter of creating stuff because to me now it's like a checkpoint of like get this record out, go tour, go record. And like I'm really excited for the next chapter. So I think people so far that have heard it, like they've all been really, really nice and very excited about like the musical direction being kind of all over the place, which I thought there'd be a little more pushback because Death Western is fucking hard. Like
Yeah.
that record is like it's balls to the wall. So I was curious if it's going to alienate people, a little bit more, but so far everybody I've talked to has been super cool about it. So yeah, I'm just excited. Like it's fun to get stuff out. I hate talking to people and then it's like you have this big thing in your life that you made and like people you talk to, like I can't send it to everybody. And so I have like a secret and I hate having secrets and I hate having to like have weird innuendo conversations. Like that's the one thing that's the coolest part. Like once it's out, opinions or not, I don't have some like fucking weird secret shit going on where it's like, ooh, I got this thing, but
I
you
can't
gotta
tell
wait,
you anything. Yeah.
gotta wait till March 21st. Like that's the thing I hate the most. Like I wish I could make stuff and just like the delay and creation to rolling it out is the most miserable part of it.
It must be exciting knowing that the upcoming shows in April and the great tour dates coming up, you can now play some of these songs live, maybe for the first time. And that must be great. That must be a really good feeling because
Yeah.
anyone in a band, as much as it's great to play the songs that people come and pay their money for, and there's certain songs that do well and people just want to hear, to play a new song as a band, a whole new dynamic, taking it from that studio as a group of musicians and actually transferring it to a live show and hoping that it works and you can do justice to the record. That's all exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, I love that because we don't I think if you were a band, like a traditional band where everybody like sat in a room and wrote stuff and worked it out, you would kind of have that figured out. But since I make the records kind of in isolation and then show the band after the record's done, like we haven't really got to play the material. And so a lot of this stuff, when we play it live, like we'll change tempos and like there's just different things happening. So it becomes like there's the songs I write, then I transform them in the studio, then they transform live. And I really like being because I don't play guitar live. And so hearing other people's like versions of my riffs is like really fucking wild sometimes because Matt and Drew that's playing with us right now, like everybody has their own style. So they may squeal or do like certain little things that I wouldn't do necessarily. And so it really is a different experience. So being sick of the record, like I've like if I never hear El Dorado again, it'll be too soon. Like I can't listen to any of this stuff. Like I just get too burned like by the time I've recorded it all and shit. So the only time I listen to my band is live, which maybe that's weird. I don't know. I never put that together, but I am excited to hear like we put our set list. I think we're playing four of the new songs. So half of our set is El Dorado stuff. So I'm pretty excited to see like what they sound like, what works. Like it's going to be very exciting and try not to fall down on stage or pass out trying to fucking scream my head off.
When you're
There's always that.
independently writing and putting these songs together without the band and it's your thoughts, it's your process, it's your recording. Do you ever subconsciously have to take a step back and tell yourself, hang on a minute, is this going to work live, or do you just not have any restraints? Do you just go, fuck it, I'll do what I want and we'll worry about it at another time?
It's both. On Pagan Rhythms and Death Western, there was no entertaining anything, just make
Yeah,
the record. And then like um my homie Randy that plays lead guitar when he's available, like if he was in the studio and gonna rip a solo, I'm like, whatever, if he can't tour with us and then we can't have that solo, then we'll do something else. Like this record, I did try, I think more so. I think I'm leaning towards, I want to get to the point where, because we are a band now and there is a live thing, that I'm being more conscious of. We're going to start doing headlining shows, and I want what I put on record to translate more. I think that's more of a thing that I'm probably going to prioritize and care about. So definitely the first couple records I didn't care because maybe I didn't actually think we would be touring like that, you know. But now it seems like we'll probably be playing these songs and doing a bunch more records and doing this a lot. So I think I want to. I love when a band makes a record and then they can go and just play that record live too.
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Doesn't
So I,
happen enough. It's always 20th anniversaries, or you gotta wait and you're like, ah, I love this album. There's always tracks I've never heard live, but the bands I love, you have to wait 10 years or 20, and then it's like, hey, we're gonna
yeah,
celebrate this album. It's like, damn it, why didn't you do that 20 years ago? I want to hear it now.
yeah, that's one thing I've been thinking about a lot because when we go do some headlining stuff, we have just enough material. We have an hour and a half where I'm like, we can basically play most of our catalog. And so I'm like, that could be kind of cool if we do like an hour, 10-minute show, like basically do album playthroughs of most of the material, you know? Because I agree. I love when a band is like in the peak, but then they, whatever it is, they fall off or something, and then you wait a decade and then you go catch them, play the album you want. You know what I mean?
With Eldorado,
I both love and hate those
yeah,
tours.
it's frustrating. It's like I love the band Thrice, and they're very good for doing like 20th anniversary shows and 25 and this. But I go and I forget that 20 years have gone by and everyone's a bit older, and people are wanting to get home, or they've got kids and they've got wives, and the songs feel different because life's changed.
Yeah, for sure.
With Eldorado, will you? I mean, you may be already able to shed some light on this, but do you think that will give you the opportunities to take these songs overseas so we can see you in the UK or Europe or some festivals?
Yeah, that's kind of on me because we had a another festival run booked was it last summer? And then we were changing management and trying to figure out what we were doing, and it kind of came to a point where we were just like, what is the point of this festival run? Like we don't have a record out,
Yeah,
like what is the reason to do it? And then it was kind of like nobody had nobody on the call like had a reason, and I was like, well then I'm gonna like go back in the studio and finish this and then we'll just table it. So I think we're gonna do a US tour. Well, we're doing the Obituary Nails Terror Tour, and
yeah.
then in September we're going to do some shows around Louder Than Life and maybe do like a couple legs of like a little run, and then next year go to Europe because it's something that like when I started I was hell bent on like hitting Europe a lot, and we went over 4 times, but that was all before Death Western came out, and then we haven't been back since. And the band from where we were off of Pagan Rhythms to now is just like ridiculously grown a lot, and I feel a little guilty because I'm like, well, I fucked that up. Like I needed like we didn't play one show after Death Western came out in Europe, and that album fucking rules. And we sell a lot of merch to Europe, so I'm like, so my apologies, and I promise when we get over there, like we'll be playing, we'll be playing the hits, you know.
We're just gotta
But
wait a
yeah,
year, and that's okay.
yeah, and not this year. Just
No, no,
hold tight until maybe summer 2026. You know.
that sounds good to me. And my final question for you today, and I ask this to everyone that comes on: What I love to do to make this podcast as personal as I can, I've never changed it, is the guest that comes on, and now it's your moment, is you can have any song that means a lot to you, not by SpiritWorld, but a song in music and history of music. And what I want to do is, after today's interview is all edited and ready for people to listen to, people will say, I wonder what Stu's choice is, and then it will play out at the very end. So I'm putting you on the spot. I know as a songwriter, as a musician, as a creative person, there might be 1,000 songs in your head right now, but is there something that came to your heart above any other?
Um, yeah, let me think. I was just out with my mom, like, taking her to some doctor appointments, and the whole way back, we were just like jamming a bunch of Woody Guthrie songs. And my older brother, that kind of was like instrumental in getting me involved in like more of the political side of like punk rock and like those things of like organizing and like kind of being a free thinking dude. Like my brother Curtis really loved like just folk music. So I'd say do Woody Guthrie, Tear the Fascist Down. I think that's probably pretty important for people to hear in this certain climate that we're in. Because it's funny, shit don't change. That's almost that's closer to 100 years ago than it was. You know what I mean? So like I was
Massively.
having my mom listen to that stuff, and I was just like, it almost makes the hair on your back of your neck stand up in a not so good way.
That's great. And even though I've been doing the podcast 9 years, no one has picked a song from him or any. What will happen now is I'll edit the song into this actual episode, and then I'll spend the next couple of weeks solidly listening to that. Because that's what happens. People pick the Beatles. I'm like,
Oh,
okay,
really?
I've heard the Beatles. That's fine. Oh, I want to pick a song by the Rolling Stones. I'm like, okay, but I've heard that to death. And now I'll be like, oh, fuck, something new to listen to.
Yeah, there you go, man.
I appreciate your time today, and I wish you all the luck with the release of this album. I've been lucky enough to have an advance copy. Truly, I'm at the stage of my podcast now where I can turn down guests. I'm very lucky in the way that I don't say yes to everything because, well, I would never have enough time to eat and sleep and be a happily married man. I liked a work-life balance, and I welcome the opportunity to get you on because I thought the album was fucking incredible, and I really can't wait to see people's reactions. I think it's going to blow your mind. I know you don't care too much about the Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, people saying what they think, but honestly, dude, like people are going to be in for a ride.
I mean, I do care. Like, I hope people love it as much as I do, but that's also like a shield and a front of like, I can't get into that fucking canon of you caring because if everyone hates it, like, I'm gonna be fucking. Um, and so I know I'm sensitive, so I'm just like, as much as I care, just I cannot allow
Maybe you
myself.
care too much.
Yeah, and I have friends who will like it's a joke, so they'll like go find the comments in our group chat and shit, and it'll be like hardcore Reddit, new spirit world, poop from butt, and like the heinous things on lamb goat. And so those so I probably end up seeing the most heinous, worst things anyways.
Right. Well, we need to
Because it
change that. I need to send you all the nice stuff because when I go on Instagram and Facebook and I read comments about you, everyone's like fucking celebrating it. So make sure you don't just read the shit.
That's why I just stay away from it. And then like my mom was reading me comments the other day of like she was on Facebook and maybe it's a dark ad or something that Century Media was running. And she was just like going down this list and I was just like cringing, just like, oh God. Some guy was calling us like Timu, Rob Zombie, and like some guys talking shit, and then other people are like having our back. And my mom was just like loving it. And I'm just like, I can't internet like that. So as soon as you're done with this, don't ever do that again. Because like emo Rob Zombie will fucking haunt me. Like, come on, mom.
Well, I know you've got an interview in literally 5 minutes. So I'm going to let you go so you can at least compose yourself and get ready. But thank you for coming on the podcast. And I really hope that next year we get to be in a field somewhere or a venue and share a drink
Where
and
are
be
you
like,
at?
I'm in the right in the middle. So in England, I'm literally like the closest place to me is like Manchester, Birmingham, but I'm bang in the middle. So everywhere's like just an hour away. I'm really lucky. So I can get to London in like an hour and a half, Birmingham an hour, Manchester an hour. So wherever you are, I will make sure I'm there.
Yeah, we'll be there in 2026. It's on high, very high on the list of shit to get done.
And life's crazy, man. I'm 43 now, and I blink, and then suddenly I'm 44, and then it's suddenly fucking time is going so quick. So
I know it feels like I was just on lockdown like a minute ago.
5 years, man. 5 years. Yeah. I saw something today.
They keep saying 5 years, and I'm just like, is it really 5?
Fucking crazy. But yeah, thank you, dude. Good luck with everything, and I'm sure our paths will cross again very soon.
Yeah, thank you, man. Take it easy.
So, there's my interview with me and Stu. A real open and honest conversation, and what I really loved is kind of how humble he is, but how he has such a great perspective on the music industry. He's not delusional and kind of wants to go out there and thinks that he can become the next Beatles. He knows what hard work is, he knows how much it takes, and he's in full control of his music, his band, the way it's produced, the way it all comes across. And I think that's so important in this music industry, which can easily swallow you up. So I have so much respect for this band, and I hope that after listening to today's interview, you'll go and check out the band's brand new album, which is literally out now, called Eldorado. Once you've gone and listened, let me know on Facebook, Twitter or Instagram what you think, and if you've really enjoyed today's interview, please take the time to share it. As I just said, those social media channels which all of you are on, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, whatever you use, why not take a moment just to share this episode? It's the best way that Mark and me can get out there. You might get someone then that's a fan of SpiritWorld that didn't know this podcast exists. They see the imagery with me and the band. They think, oh, I love that band. I'm going to have a listen to this interview. And before you know it, they go back in and listen to all my previous episodes and then become a Mark and Me fan just because you clicked that share button. It's crucial to the growth of Mark and Me. I don't have money to invest in the podcast and go out there and spend loads of money for Facebook to do advertising and Instagram to pay to have this kind of promoted post. I do it all through hard work and relying on you guys out there to share these episodes. Also, I have a Patreon account. Keeping Mark and Me going does cost money. I have to host the site and make sure that it's on Spotify and have all this bandwidth for Apple Podcasts and Amazon Music. So if you enjoy Mark and Me and basically just want to give me a tip, it's only £1 a month. For that, you're guaranteed 2 episodes a week and extra episodes called The Lost Tapes. You get a welcome pack which comes with stickers and an amazing badge, all for £1 a month. And you can do that on markandme.com and there's a link on there. Before I go, I want to give a shout out to the sponsors of Mark and Me. Firstly, Vice Press News. If you love collectible prints and posters by the best artists on the planet, go on vicepress.com. If you add anything to your basket and it's all licensed goods, it's all official, amazing merchandise, you will save yourself 10% if you enter the code MarkandMe10, and that's the number 10. And secondly, the great folks at Richer Sounds. If you want to get yourself anything to do with audio and visual, hit up any of their high street stores or go on richersounds.com. They won't be beaten on price and truly have supported Mark and Me for many years, so thanks to those guys. Right, one more thank you. I want to say a huge thanks to Kirsten for making this interview happen. What she's done for this podcast is absolutely mind-blowing and I'm so grateful, and I'm really in debt with you for the rest of my life, so thank you so much. Right, I'll be back in only a few days' time with another brand new episode of Mark and Me. So until then, listen to SpiritWorld, take care, and I'll speak to you all very soon.
There's a great and a bloody fight round this whole world tonight. In the battle, the bombs and shrapnel rain. Hitler told the world around he would tear our union down, but our union's gonna break them slavery chains. And our union's gonna break them slavery chains. I walked up on a mountain in the middle of the sky, could see every farm and every town. I could see all the people in this whole wide world. That's the union that'll tear the fascists down, down, down. That's the union that'll tear the fascists down. When I think of the men and the ships going down while the Russians fight on across the Don, There's London in ruins and Paris in chains. Good people, what are we waiting on? Good people, what are we waiting on? So I thank the Soviets and the mighty Chinese vets, the Allies, the whole wide world around. To the battling British, thanks, you can have 10 million Yanks if it takes them to tear the fascists down, down, down. If it takes them to tear the fascists down. But when I think of the ships and the men going down, and the Russians fight on across the Don, there's London in ruins and Paris in chains. Good people, what are we waiting on? Good people, what are we waiting on? So I thank the Soviets and the mighty Chinese vets, the Allies, the whole wide world around. To the battling British, thanks, you can have 10 million Yanks if it takes them to tear the fascists down, down, down. If it takes them to tear the